Hi there, everyone. This is just a quick video to introduce this new concept, make sure we have a good understanding of the idea of a writing construct because it's one that is foundational to our new unit and probably not probably, definitely the longest unit and, 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 and maybe the core unit of this class. So today we'll just be at the end of this video, we want to be able to understand what the term writing construct is, be able to define that term. We want to be able to understand that term in preparation for the upcoming assignment, the writing construct project. And in your discussion boards, you will be creating a list of writing constructs, generating some examples of writing constructs that you have encountered, because I guarantee all of you have encountered writing constructs. So before we talk about what a writing construct is, we can just kind of go back to what we discussed in week 1 when we asked the question, why do our ideas about writing matter? Why do conceptions of writing matter? A writing construct, right, or perhaps more generally, before we apply it directly to writing, the idea of a construct, right? A construct is a mental framework that people build in order to make sense of the world around them. So that doesn't apply to writing. That's a very general approach to the idea of a construct. One of the key features of an effective construct is that it quickly begins to seem natural or inevitable rather than made up. In other words, a construct is a way that we see the world that is so foundational that we don't even question it or research it anymore. We just accept it. Just to go into a bit more detail, I don't care too much that we don't need to draw a fine distinction between the difference in a conception and a construct, but I think it will be helpful to just sort of reflect on why our conceptions, why our ideas about writing matter. Remember that a conception is a belief, an idea about something, and that these ideas shape how we understand things and ultimately how we do things. Of course, we're going to apply these ideas to writing. So a good example, if you have the conception, if you have the idea that some people are just good writers and some aren't, if I have that conception, that idea, and I think that I'm not a good writer, how might that impact what I'm willing to do? This is the part in the lecture where you all would raise your hand and answer, but I'll answer for you. Right? If I think I'm just a bad writer and that's inherently who I am, that's going to affect how I write in the future. I'm not going to try to improve. I'm just going to accept that I'm a bad writer. So, of course, already we're seeing a writing construct here. That idea is not necessarily true if we were to dig and to research it, but it's pervasive and it's something that we might just sort of assume to be true. So already we're kind of seeing an example of a writing construct. So a construct is just, we might call it a conception. It's something that's so popular. A construct is an idea, a way of thinking that's so popular, pervasive, or ingrained that we come to see it as natural or inevitable. It just seems to be, right? That's the idea of a construct. And we all have conceptions, or we've all experienced constructs about writing, but depending how we learn them or who we learn them from, they might not be exactly right. Like we've talked about before, a lot of people who aren't writing studies experts, a lot of people who don't do the research on writing, think they know about writing. So when I get on the plane and somebody sits next to me and they ask me what I do, and I say I teach writing, that person has all of these ideas about writing, even if they might not be research-based, right? So these ideas that we've experienced about writing that aren't necessarily helpful, we might call these misconceptions. Perhaps we would even call these myths. And in fact, in our reading for this week, Irving does call them writing myths about writing. And so this project, well, okay, I won't get into the project itself, but in some cases, these ideas about writing aren't particularly true, aren't particularly helpful, and in fact, they might even be harmful to us as writers. So in the Writing Construct project, we're going to choose and examine a writing construct and do research on it, find out for ourselves what the research suggests about writing. So we've defined constructs sort of generally, right? A conception that's so popular, pervasive, widespread, ingrained that it seems like it's natural or inevitable to us, we can call that a construct. So if we just take that and apply that to writing, we'll define a writing construct as any conception, any idea about writing that's so popular, so pervasive, so widespread, so ingrained that we've just come to accept it as natural or as inevitable. Of course, in the discussion boards, you all are generating examples of writing constructs. I already mentioned one. There's this idea that exists that writing is this genius thing and there are good writers and there are bad writers. Research suggests otherwise. Research suggests that good writers work really hard to be good writers, and quote unquote bad writers can become good writers from working really hard. Perhaps another one is every time I sit down, every time I meet a stranger and they find out that I teach writing, they like to say, "Oh, texting is really ruining writing skills." I don't know why they think that. They haven't done the research, right? They haven't done the research. The research doesn't necessarily suggest that. It's just this false idea about writing that's very popular. Now, writing constructs aren't necessarily always myths. They're not always false, but sometimes they are. That will be our task to do research and find out, does the research support that this writing construct is actually how writing works? Actually, is it in line with what we know about writing? Sometimes the writing constructs we've learned have been from teachers in the past. I think probably the most familiar writing construct to all of us is this idea of the 5-paragraph essay or the 5-paragraph theme. So what I'll ask you to do as I end this short video is to just go back and reflect on our definition of a writing construct and think to yourself, based on that definition, is the 5-paragraph essay a writing construct? That's a little rhetorical question to end our video. Of course, I think we've achieved these goals, so I'm looking forward to seeing what you all have to say on the discussion boards. Have a good day.